Recording in progress.
So whenever yes, what happens sometimes because of this, there is a cloudy situation outside, as well as sometimes there may be a problem of electricity that occurs.
Yes,
Because of that, maybe that connectivity is lost, power is lost. So I'm on mobile too. I have this presentation on mobile too also. So I can go for that as well. But just give me 1 or 2 minutes in between, just to do this. Otherwise, usually there won't be a problem. But let's check.
Sir, we have another 7 more minutes to go. It's 3:53. Exactly. We shall start at 4 o'clock. Sankar sir has also joined us.
Yeah, no issue, Karnatak.
Okay, Sankar sir, co-host.
Shankar sir has joined, I think. Dinik
He's also there. Yeah, Dr. Sankar sir.
He has to be given co-host. They are doing it.
Yeah, good afternoon and welcome.
Yes, sir.
We look forward to Kangude sir's presentation. Wonderful presentation. We have high expectations.
You are in your form, sir.
sir is standing in a farm, right?
Can you see this?
Yes, sir. But what is written there, sir? It is not visible.
Conference hall donated by Dr. Siripurapu Sankar, principal.
That function was yesterday, no?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's part of the college.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm in the
this is your college?
Yeah, this
We
is
thought you were
our college. This is our college.
Excellent.
Almost 200 meters corridors each side of the principal room, 25-acre campus.
Excellent.
And this is the IQAC room where I normally work from.
virtual tour you are taking us around, sir.
Yeah. This is the student learning outcomes I keep speaking about. I used to literally sleep here, you see, during my NAC preparation, the college NAC preparation. For almost 1 month, I lived on the campus.
That is your dual responsibility, sir. As principal and IQAC.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm happy, you see, this is an idea started by Madurai and Thoothukudi colleges, which has been being emulated by other colleges elsewhere.
So that is what cooperation.
Yeah,
we have to go for cooperation. Yeah.
It's not competition, it's cooperation, but it is also emulation. Emulating, you see, the best practices of others. That's also a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It was well received, sir. It was well received. All the 5 days over. It was well acclaimed and well received by the participants across the country. That we could see it. Obviously, we could see it through the feedback which they posted every day. And all these feedbacks we would like to discuss it tomorrow.
Actually, my idea was that you should go. You should have gone for some small examination on Google Form.
Yes, sir.
That would have been better. Those who appear for the examination, they will get only certificate. Those who are those will get certain minimum 40%, 50% score.
Yes,
they should be given certificate only.
Can you recognize this fruit?
Jackfruit, sir.
Yeah, wonderful.
One is to Mannar and another one is to A.P.C, sir.
Yeah.
A college canteen.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
Normally,
carry on.
Normally, retired principals are not seen in the campus, but it is
unique example.
Yes,
Unique
example.
In Andhra University, we have plenty of jackfruit.
Yes, sir.
And the cashew type mango, That's what
the-
we call GD Mamidi in.
How is the weather, sir? How is the weather there?
Weather is it's about 38, 39, fluctuating between 36 and 40 during this season.
I think same is everywhere. Here also it's the same.
Yes.
What about Thoothukudi?
Thoothukudi, madam, how is your place?
Yes, sir. Night we had heavy rains, sir.
Oh,
Oh, really?
that's good.
How
That's
come?
good.
It was yesterday. I went to Thoothukudi, close to Thoothukudi, and I was there.
Okay.
And it was raining like cats and dogs yesterday.
Wonderful. And I'll be taking you on a 40-kilometer ride from Gudivada to Vijayawada as I follow Kangude, sir.
So yeah, once again you are going to drive, I think, sir.
Yeah, I'll have to go home. And I'll be following Kangude, sir. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Please.
yes.
Right.
Have a good time over there, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Today is a Saturday, and most of the teachers will feel like taking rest in the afternoon.
There are 118, 19, 20 participants, and it's almost time.
So no, let's wait for 5 minutes.
Time, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
We'll wait up to 200.
Let's cross 200, then we'll start.
Yes. In our college, just now the faculty members left from the institution, sir, because we had a parent teachers meet today. Probably they were taking time to reach their houses.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. On Sunday tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
will people join?
Swear, sir. Swear, sir.
No. Holiday. There should not be holiday impact. And for valedictory, who has been called?
That we'll discuss today evening, sir. All of us will discuss. And then we'll let them know in the WhatsApp groups. It's not yet discussed. So we all put our heads together and decide, and then we post it in the WhatsApp group.
Certificates have been finalized.
Yes, the certificate is ready, but it has to be approved from your side, sir.
No. Okay.
So
approval is not big issue. It's not big issue.
Thing is that approval here is proofreading, sir.
Okay.
It's not at time, and which we have to send it to you and Sankar, sir.
Yeah.
And probably by this time it would have reached golden hour. And in case you go through and if you give us some corrections, we carry out, and then we'll feed it in the mechanisms. We'll do it today itself.
No problem. Just now I came from my college.
Okay, sir.
So,
What's the distance, sir?
20 kilometers, 20 kilometers from my house.
What about working hours, sir? You work till up to 1:30, or you work till 3:30, something like that?
2:30. In the morning, we start at 9:30. Usually, it's a time on paper, it is 5 hours, but never it completes in 5 hours. Maybe 6 hours, sometimes 7 hours, and like depending on the situation. Now we are going in the last phase, that is the annual prize distribution and all that functions are there.
Yes, sir.
So that preparation is going on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, these are the issues. So that is what our duty, a part of our duty. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we have to go to
We
that.
have sports day, annual day,
Yeah,
all, and even we have convocation.
on occasion. Actually, the semester is being too much prolonged.
Yes, sir.
Still, we are in the end of the first semester. First semester exams have been completed. Second semester is about to begin.
Okay.
Now in the vacation, that means May and June, we have to attend the colleges. We have to
Yes,
complete the syllabus, exams, and all these things. And onwards, 15th June, our exams will be start for the second semester.
Second semester. The
Yeah,
same thing
so-
here also, sir.
Yeah. Entire year has been extended almost for 3-4 months.
Yes, almost all the colleges in Tamil.
Okay.
We
no
follow
issue.
the same. You have to work up to June end, I think. So. Only next academic year, it is not sure when we going to start. So
No,
we are waiting.
we have heard that our university is going to start next academic year from 1st of August.
Yeah.
1st of August. Otherwise, results and entire things will not be completed. So there is no point in starting the next semester.
Yes,
Only 12th standard result will be out, and the first year admissions will start around end of the June. So July will go into that admissions, and maybe from 1st of August we'll start everything. That means all classes, right from UG to PG and all that.
yes. We are also waiting for the communication from the government.
Okay.
As you said, maybe in the middle of June, they have published 12th exam result published.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should begin. It's 4:05. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We have 182.
The Saturday impact seems to be there. You see, there are only 183 people today.
Yeah.
But they will gradually they'll join, sir.
They'll gradually increase.
They
Yeah.
will be joining, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we are 184, sir. But we'll update you, sir. Please look at the road and drive, because don't look at the participants here. We are little.
No, sir. Let's start.
Yes. Sir.
Let's start.
Yes. Sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. Yes, sir. Please, sir, Sankar, sir.
Luckily, this is a hands-free car.
Device is there. Yeah.
In the cell, you see, automated car where I do not have to hold the phone in my hand.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. Nice. Yeah.
Only if I am tempted by some slides of Kangude, sir, then I'll have to divert myself.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take care. Thank you anyway. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. This is the 6th day from the host institutions in association with the cluster, IQAC Cluster India. We extend a warm welcome to all the participants. And this is the 6th day. And thank you for your enormous support, consistent support in all the 5 days. And we expect that you would extend your consistent support tomorrow also. And before we begin the session, we would like to have some instructions to the participants. That we'll post it in tonight. We'll post it in all the WhatsApp groups tonight. But we would like to, before you get it in the WhatsApp group, I would like to explain to you what are the things that we are going to post it in the WhatsApp group. Like we have to decide the valediction. Actually, we wanted to have early valediction tomorrow, followed by tomorrow's scheduled session, which we have to discuss with the dignitaries from all the sites that we put our heads together and decide it, and then we'll let you know in the WhatsApp groups. Then also feedback. See that we request all the participants, you fill up the form and then you post your feedback. Okay, before 6:15, okay, because we are surprised. We have 696 participants, and whereas when we go for feedback, it comes around 900 plus. How successful, I don't know. So we wanted to close it little early, and that is one more thing that is the thing that I wanted to share. And feedback, another important thing that Sankar sir has already informed you that the participants who have attended all the 7 days, there is a request from Sankar sir to the participants that any one of the participants, see you, we asked you to write to send us 1-page write-up about the faculty development program conducted for the last 7 days. And you please send us the write-up and probably look at the WhatsApp, look at the chat box. Probably by this time it will pop up there. You please send your feedback. Sorry, the 1-page write-up, and we would go through it. The best one would be selected, and that person will be honored with the glittering gold medal and a lovely song, and probably with a certificate, I think so, with the consent of the organizing team. And then regarding certificates also, as Kangude said, suggested few things that also we'll keep in mind. And regarding the certificates and all these things that we'll post all the instructions, the WhatsApp groups before 10 o'clock. And then I extend, as I told you, that I extend a warm welcome to Sankar sir and Kangude sir and rest of the participants before I introduce the guest here. Now, probably you have seen he is not new to this forum. Kangude sir has been with us for a long time. Maybe right from the first minute to the till now, he has been available with us. And whenever there is a question, whenever it is required, he is responding to questions. Probably you have seen, and such a responsible person, Kangude sir is, and it's a great honor and a pleasure to have him as one of the speakers of the 7-day faculty development program. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Kangude sir. He is an associate professor and head in the Department of Physics at Andhra Power College, Pune. He has 3 decades of experience and organized 50 workshops, seminars, and webinars. And it is interesting to know that he is also the president of Indian Association of Physics Teachers. He's the president there. And he served as a research person in a number of universities, including Savitri Boy Pune University, Mumbai University, Swaji University, Solapur University, Amravati University, besides many institutions also. And he is the founder member of IQAC Cluster India. And I'm very proud to introduce him to all the participants that currently he is the joint secretary of this big forum called IQAC Cluster India. And when I was going through his brief profile, I was extremely happy to know that something there is significant about our eminent research person today is, it is he who has introduced the concept of paperless assessment. The concept of paperless assessment and accreditation, and this kind of methodology, paperless, the concept of paperless methodology was accepted by several colleges across the country. And in case, dear participant, direct participants, in case you want to introduce the concept of paperless what is it called, assessment and accreditation in your institution also, please keep in touch with them. And such an eminent person, it is a great honor. It is a great honor and privilege that he has graciously accepted our invitation and consented to deliver a talk on uh, policy procedures. Policy procedures. Sir, it is a pleasure and honor to invite you here, and warm welcome to you, sir, and your the post-institutional participants. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
One thing you missed, Ram Subbiah, sir.
Please, sir.
He's an avid cyclist. The minimum of 10 kilometers a day to 25 kilometers a day on Sunday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
But
He is a cyclist. You see, wonderful initiative you see from his side. A physics teacher, very busy member of IQAC cluster. It was, in fact, he who has introduced me to the IQAC cluster.
excellent.
He made me the admin of the Telugu states, and he has been in touch with me regularly. It was because of him that I became the advisor of the IQAC cluster. I thank him, you see, and I wish him the very best in life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Very
you.
kind, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. It's very kind of you, Dr. Sankar, sir. It was golden opportunity for all of us that you are a part of this cluster, and you are here today too. So shall I begin? Shall I begin?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Waiting for
Thank
you.
you.
Waiting for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I hope you are seeing my screen now. Yes. So before we begin, let me say something about this particular activity, which is being conducted by these two colleges from Madurai and Thoothukudi. First of all, I was contacted almost 25 days before, I think 20 to 25 days before, by Golda ma'am. After we finished our this Nagaland endeavor for Nagaland colleges, we conducted one such FDP on AQR. That was from 4th to 7th of April, and during that period, Dr. Golda ma'am, our Tamil Nadu admin, she contacted me and she put forth this idea of a national webinar over this particular topic or the theme, which is equip theme. So it is one of the very interesting topic this particular college has selected. They are showing how a cooperation can lead to a great success. So this entire activity is a great success, not only on the part of this number of participants, but the content that has been delivered. I'm sure for the first time we are delivering this particular content in any national webinar, and thereby it has encouraged a lot. Our morale has been boosted, and new topics, new ideas, new concepts we are coming across, and thereby it has enriched our expertise too. So that is a great advantage for a cluster that we are being introduced to such a huge mob from these southern states, and it has a great success for all of this around this last 10 days, 15 days, whatever. So responses are very good. The queries that have been asked by the participants are also very nice and very good. And in this entire journey, Dr. Golda ma'am, Dr. Ram Subraya sir, then other colleagues from both of these college, principal of both of the college, as well as management, wholeheartedly, everyone worked at his or her fullest to make this event as successful as possible. And that's how we are saying this is on the 6th day we are entering here. And I have been allotted this particular topic. I have corrected a little bit. It's a policy procedure in assessment and accreditation. So policy procedure is a different thing, and how it is to be used in the process of assessment and accreditation, or what is importance in the process of assessment and accreditation. That is what we are going to concentrate here in my discussion of almost 1.5 hours. Before that, in my introduction, it was introduced that I am a president of this Indian Association of Physics Teacher. It's not that true. I'm a president of Indian Association of Physics Teacher, Pune region. Ours is a national body. Part of that is a Pune region, and I am presiding as working as a president of that particular chapter from last 2 years. Thereby also we are organizing lot many activities for physics teachers too. And of course, physics is my first love before this assessment and accreditation, because I'm getting my bread and butter on the basis of that subject. This is also one of my very, very interesting topic and subject. wherein I'm working from last 27, 28 years and so on. So this is what background and all these things. Now let's come to our topic. Policy procedures. These are the two words. And now I just recall every one of, we are having our own home. We are having a family. In our family, we have some relatives, fathers, mothers, then we have some childrens and all that. And every single home has certain policy, how to deal with the society. So as a teacher, it is teacher in a college, I have certain limitations. I have to go for certain, I have to adapt some conventions. I have to go for some definite procedures. So whenever a certain guest comes to my house, in what way every person or every member in my house is supposed to interact with that particular fellow. All these things are somewhere decided in our house. Even though if my house is of 4 or 5 rooms, which room is to be occupied by whom, which particular facility is to be used by whom at what time, all these things are basically settled down over the years, and that's how our home goes very smooth continuously years after years. So see the magic of this type of policies are there at our home too. Maybe who is decision maker at your place, that is a different issue. But whatever the procedures we follow at our home, or the policies we have decided at our home, they are unwritten, they are conventional, but our homes do work on that particular lines, and thereby very rarely it is found that there are clashes, there are problems, and there are some other issues. If we don't have such type of policies at our home, it is very difficult to have this type of things at our home too. So same is the concept applicable to our institutions too. We also need certain policies and procedures for a smooth functioning of any of the educational institution, may it be a school, may it be a college, may it be autonomous, or whatever type of institutions, doesn't matter. We must have certain policies and procedure. One more very simple example I'll give you. Another very interesting example I will just show you. That is the example of, before that, I'll just let me share what we are going to cover in this entire discussion of 1.5 hours. First point, as I have mentioned here, is this is the meaning of policy and procedures. So these technical words, what are this meaning of this policy and procedures, that we are going to discuss a little bit. Then why we need in an institution, why we need such type of policies and procedure. This is what our second concept, second aspect we are going to cover up. Then once we say there is a requirement of policy and procedure, how to design such type of policy, what is to be steps that are to be taken to implement such policy. It's over even all lot many things are there. So once you have learned to design such a policy, then how to go for its implementation, its overview, review, and all these things, technical things are there. Then in our concern, as I have discussed, as I made a topic name is policy procedures and in assessment and accreditation. So how these two things are connected, that is our another very important core area, which I am going to stress upon much more in my discussion. And then at the end, we are going to show some very typical and simple, very good examples of policy procedures which are being very successfully being implemented by these type of institutions, which are very highly graded institutions recently, as well as few institutions which have been from last few years. These are the things. At the end, if possible, if there is time permits, we'll go for bit introduction of the cluster, its philosophy, and all these things, if time permits, and all that things. So along with that, as I said, I can give another very nice example after this particular slide. So let's think about certain very standard or very branded type of institutions all over the world, which we call these institutions like a Stanford University, MIT, or like that. There are several other types of institutions are there. You can go for this type of, just a minute. I want to remove this. Yeah. So let's think about certain world ranked institutions or world ranking type of institutions. So what makes the institution the great? The great, I mean, there are thousands of millions of institutions all over the world. Some of the institutions we call these are the great institutions like Oxford, Cambridge, or there are like many examples in our countries too. There are IIMs, there is IISc, and lot many such institutions. These institutions are called to be the great institutions. Why? This is what the paragraph further says here. World-class institutions thrive in an environment that fosters competitiveness, unrestrained scientific inquiry, critical thinking, innovation with creativity. This is the first part. And second, very important part that has been mentioned here, all those institutions have transparent, legal policies and procedures for efficient and effective functioning of that institutions. So if any institution, it has all these four different aspects are already covered there: critical thinking, innovation, creativity, etc. But if this institution is not have, if that particular institution is not having such type of policies, procedures, then it is a big problem for that institution, that it will become a great institution. To become a great institution, along with that, all these aspects, we need to have a transparent legal policies and procedures, which are very, very, very essential for effective and efficient functioning of the institutions. Otherwise, it is very difficult for any institution to become a great institution if it is lacking, if it is not having these type of policy procedures existing at their end. Now, another very simple and another common example I can give here regarding this importance of policy procedures. Just I had given earlier example of our home. In our home, there are some non-unwritten policies and procedures. Thereby, we live together years after years. That is one policy procedures. Here in concern of our nation too. Our India is one democratic country, having almost, we are celebrating 75 years of our independence. And why this long, not in the life of country, 75 years is not much time, but still, as compared to other democracies in the world, our democracy is becoming one of the very strong democracy, a typical example all over the world. And this is why it is possible because of this particular Constitution of India. This is one such document which has been prepared by that Constituent Assembly before, at the time of independence, under the leadership of Dr. Ambedkar, and on that lot many other people, they were involved in this particular preparation of this Constitution of India. This is one document, as we say, and the scope of this documentation is entire country, right from whatever smaller part of the country to a bigger state and everything, center, states, then municipalities and everything. Everywhere this particular constitution is applied for different types of political processes, right from elections to emergency. I'm saying there is voting, process of voting, parliaments, then there is judiciary, there are several other parts, laws and regulations, and not many things are there. And this particular constitution is applicable for different types of political process. Thereby we mentioned that we could stay as a country because of this type of constitution existing, which is being controlling all of our political process, right from elections to emergency. Everything is being covered by this constitution, and thereby we are able to have this type of stable nature or stable nation in the last 75 years. And I'm sure on the basis of, with the help of this constitution, it may go maybe few hundred years or more than that. So this particular existence of nation is dependent upon such type of a written type of constitution. So this is very, very true in concern of our nation too. So just imagine a nation without the constitution. So definitely, whenever such type of situation is there, there is always a great threat to the very existence of that particular nation. So now you can understand with the what is the importance of this. Actually, this Constitution of India itself is a policy procedure that we have adopted ourselves at the time of independence or after the independence, that our country will run or will go ahead with this type of guidelines, with these type of instructions, with these types of laws and all these things. So that is what, this is one very simple example of policy procedure. Without this type of policy procedure as a constitution of nation, no nation can exist or no nation can have its can progress in a manner what we progressed in the last 75 years. So this is another very common. Now you'll say how it is connected with the colleges. Then earlier first example I had given of our own family. Then this is second very big example of nation, where there are certain some written type of documentation, what we call as Constitution of India is there. Now in case of colleges too, for controlling or for conducting each and every academic, non-academic process, we are expected to have certain policy and certain procedure documents, SOPs too. So we are supposed to carry out each and smaller or bigger activity in our institution with the help of these documents, and that is actually tested by NAC in its evaluation. How much transparent processes at your institution are, what are the policies you are having at your institution, and your everyday function is being controlled or being monitored, being taken with the help of this type of policies and procedure. If any institution is having such type of several types of policy procedures can be there. If we are having such type of written documents at our end, we are implementing the policies and procedures which have been written there. Every aspects or every stakeholder of the institution is known to all that policy and procedure, then it becomes a very smooth, very fine institution, and that helps you to make your own brand, and that then it helps you to become one of the great institutions in the state, in the country, in the nation, or at international levels, and so on. So that is what the importance of this type of policy procedure. About that also we are going to discuss some things later on again. So let's come to this very technical meaning of this. What is policy procedures? Actually, please note, I'm not a graduate from any moral science, or I'm not a MBA like that. My background is purely science background. I'm from physics. So whatever these lines I have written here in my all the PPTs, these are borrowed from somewhere. So when I started studying all these policies, procedures, how to write them, what it actually means, then I came across these type of statements. So these are directly borrowed from some of the documents on the internet, or some of the institutions. I have studied some of very fine policies of some of the institutions, even some foreign universities, and then came across these type of things. So please bear with me. As I said, I'm not expert in this particular field, but I'm just working on the ground level on these policy procedures, and because of that, I came across these type of lines here, which I have written mentioned here. So what do you mean by policy and procedure? Okay, that is very simple thing here. Policies and procedures are designed to influence and determine all major decisions and actions, and all activities take place within the boundaries set. That is what I had given example of Constitution of India. Everything in our nation, political process, happens according to that constitution. So it is expected at your institution too, every action, every major decision, and all activities should take place within the boundaries set by the policies, procedures, what we have introduced at your place. That particular procedure provides guidelines and overall direction for an organization on. I have written 3 dots there. Now you can join anything here: academic, administrative, or accounting, or outreach, or anything. So whatever happens at your institution, it should be that policy procedure should provide guidelines and overall direction for an organization on. You just write anything you write which is associated with an institution or a college or an university. For everything we can have such type of policy and procedure documents. So it offers a structure for consistency over the years. That is what, again, I'm going to the constitution. From the last 75 years, this entire very smooth political process is going on in our country, that has provided a consistency as compared to our neighbors. We can see here. So here also our policy procedure provides a structure for consistency over the years, and that makes your institution great because of such type of consistent structure provided by the policy procedures we are having at your end. That also ensures compliance with organization values and goals. Every institution has certain values and goals, and through these policy procedures, it ensures we can comply, we can achieve, we can attain these values and these goals, regulation and standards too. So whatever regulations, standards, goals, values we have set at our place, this can be accomplished using these policies, procedures. So therefore, it is one of the very, very important part of functioning of any of the institution. And one of the very interesting and most important, this last point here, these policy procedures are generally set by upper management. So that is a very essential part here. This entire thing, that means all other policies, whatever we are supposed to have our institution, these policies must be in accordance with this vision and mission. That means your vision and mission is something different, and you have designed some different policies that should not be matched there. So whenever this actually NAC goes for this entire evaluation of our institution, it goes for this your vision mission statements, what is interpretation of that, and whether you are having such type of policy procedures set, written or unwritten, whatever, whether they are matching with each other. Based upon that, you are evaluated for this QLMs, at least for this qualitative metrics. So, and as I said earlier, this particular part of designing policies, implementing these policies, revamping these policies, this is not a part duty of any individual teacher. This is as a collective job, either for committees or IQAC or CDC or that local management committee of your college or the entire management of the institution, that should be involved in the designing of these policies and procedure, because they have to see every time whether we are achieving our vision or mission, whether we are achieving our goals, whether whatever regulations we have set while establishing this type of institution, whether these regulations are being obeyed or not, whether we are reaching to certain standards or not. This responsibility lies with the upper management. So upper management should be very, very integral part of designing and implementation of all these types of policy procedures. Another important thing, as I said here, sorry, it goes one more slide ahead. Second part, another meaning of policy and procedures. So a policy document should describe what the policy does and why it is necessary. So every policy document should have written in itself why this policy is necessary, and it should describe what that particular policy is. For example, when I'm going for a gender policy, so why this policy is needed and what is actually this policy statement is there, that things must be included in that particular case. It should also explain which individuals roles, their individual roles or departments are responsible for writing. First step is the writing of this policy. Second is the reviewing, implementing and managing the policy. These are the 4 different steps. Writing first step, up to the managing that particular policy or implementation of that policy. These are the certain stages one has to carry out while any institution goes for implementation of this policy procedure. And in that particular case, we must be very careful about the individual's role. For example, if I'm writing a particular policy for a certain committee, so what is the role played by that particular chairman of that committee? That should be mentioned in this particular policy. Otherwise, there becomes a problem of procedures. Whenever certain good or bad event occurs or happens in your institution, to resolve that, to tackle that particular problem, if we don't have such type of written documents or written procedures at our place, sometimes that type of situation becomes very, very difficult to handle at our place. And to avoid that type of circumstances, we have to go for such type of roles to be played by every individual or department or sector or part of your institution. That must be very, very clearly mentioned in this policy procedure. Another important thing is here, procedures are specific methods. Okay, this is now related to procedure. Procedures are specific methods employed to express policies in action. Okay, policies in action. So that is what the process. So whenever there is a chance or there is an instant, we are supposed to apply the policy. In what way policy is to be applied? For that, we have to decide certain set of instruction, and that is called as the procedure in day-to-day operations of any institution. So that is what in important aspect here. Then conventional procedure. This is one very interesting point I just want to stretch upon here. Conventional procedures not necessarily led to a success always. Now, what is this conventional? In the last year, our NSS committee or NSS unit in your institution conducted this event. Therefore, this year also we should conduct events exactly what we did yesterday in the last year or 1 year before, 2 years before. So this is what called as a convention. Convention means we just remember in the last year that things had happened and this particular event was carried this particular way. So this is what we almost 99.99% institutions in our nation. Okay, I'm saying 99.99% of the institution in our institution, they are working on this principle of convention, and that is exactly NAC doesn't want to happen at your place. You have to have your own set of instruction, your own set of policy and procedures, and based upon that, you are conducting each and every activity in your institution. That transformation is needed through this assessment and accreditation. So NAC is checking all these things. To what extent your institution is transparent, what are the different types of policies, procedures you are implementing at your place. At first time, you have designed and you are implementing these policy procedures, and thereby your institution has achieved some achievement or has achieved some standard with the help of this type of written documents that is expected. So yes, we are experts in, I have written for, we are experts in convention, because we are doing all over from last hundreds years. We are working by conventions as well as we are working for conventions. So these are the two words. We are working for, we are experts for conventions as well as we are experts by conventions. That is to be exactly we have to get rid of. We are not supposed to go for conventions. So conventions, whatever conventions you may have, you can go that, but that convention should be written in a document that then it becomes a policy and procedure. And whenever it is required, you can go for its changes, you can go for review and all these things. So that is what very interesting and important point I just wanted to cover in this case in the first two slides. Now we'll come to the another important part of this. What is process? Process. A policy sets the overall tone for the institution, and procedure describes the steps the staff or students or whoever should take to enact this specific policy. Once I decided this is a policy, then the procedure, if it is written there, that gives you an understanding what different types of steps we are needed to take to enact or to make this policy implementable for a particular purpose. So that is how it provides certain steps. It describes certain steps that that particular policy, that particular stakeholders, maybe students, maybe staff members, maybe administrative staff, whoever, or management, that can take certain steps to enact a particular policy or specific policy. So that's what it is called as a process. Process is different than policy. Policies are the words. Process is the chronological events that have been described. That means if such thing happens, then go for this. If this is the scenario, then go for this. And who is supposed to have a certain role, who is supposed to carry out, or what type of things should be ahead. All these processes are written there, and that then it becomes a process. So by contrast, a process describes how procedures across the entire entity align with one another. This is another important aspect. One another in order to realize a product or service. So whatever product or service we are providing, may it be related to industry or our institution, whatever service we are providing to our stakeholders, basically students. So there should be that should describe various procedures across the entire entity, align with one another in order to realize a product or service. That means we are serving the student community. So there should not be any contrast between two services or policies that have been designed for a particular different types of services. That is to be taken consideration here. Then processes should also detail who is responsible and ensure that the necessary tasks are completed properly and on time. So there is some time bound activities are there. So what are the different roles to be played by different authorities in that particular committee or in management or in administration or whatever? All these things had to be mentioned very, very clearly. So when we go for certain examples, actual examples of some of the standard institutions policy, we'll come across this word of this, all these meanings again in this particular case. Okay. So next is again, this is what a technical difference between what we call as policy and what we call it as a procedure. So what policies? It provides a structure that can define your organization's culture, and well-defined policies can offer a path to achieving a long-term goals and even pursuing continual improvement. So that is what a branding, that is what I said in the beginning. To become a world-class institution, we need such type of guidelines, clear-cut guidelines. That becomes a policy. That policy help your institution reduce or avoid risk. So avoiding risk or reduce your efforts, this type of documents or that type of policy helps you. It can guide the way to regulatory compliances. So whatever different types of regulatory compliances we have to follow, either because of government or UGC or university or some other agencies too. So that type of compliances can be met, so we can get a guide to complete this type of compliances, regulatory compliances, with the help of these type of policy document. On the other hand, procedure shows the steps that the stakeholders must take to implement those policies. So procedure is the steps that one has to follow to implement these type of policies. Then it gives a clear guidance on what to do, sets of circumstances in order to provide improvising solutions. So this is again, So year after year, these procedures go on settings or go on saying the things, go on giving us a set of instructions that in the last year, in this particular implementation of this policy, such things has happened. Now we can improve this. We can add this one more, another steps to there. So that's how procedures also go on becoming more and more accurate and clear procedures, so as to it improves our solutions, whatever problems we may face in our institution in everyday functioning. Then the last statement here, rendering policies and procedures distinct from one another, even though we look this to be different from another is important, but combining a policy with related procedures in the same document may be desirable for ease of reference. It means that having policies separate and establishing procedures separate, this is not expected. It is expected that policies and procedures should be in single document. Thereby, whoever who is using these policy documents or utilizing this policy document for his or her purpose or for that particular committee or that particular part of your institution, if both of these things are given together, policies and procedure, then that helps that particular component of your institution to go for a good outcome or good result for that activities, whatever they have planned in their institution. So these are the very technical things. As I said, as I am not a graduate from this moral mental sciences, I am graduate from physical sciences, so there is some limitations to me to explain these words may be possible. Now, once we have designed such a policy, whether to call it is a good policy or not. So these are the certain benchmarks, these are the certain the aspects we have to cover, whether our policy is covering these aspects or not. Based upon that, we can call it to be a good policy or moderate policy or bad policy, like that. So first thing of that, it helps in achieving the institution's objectives. So if we are having a policy and if it is not helping in achieving our what we call, if it is not achieving in the achieving our objectives, then such policy cannot be called as a good policy, but definitely it will be a moderate or bad policies there. Then second thing, provide only broad outline and leave scope for stakeholders or for interpretation so that their initiative is not hampered. It means that once I have set a particular policy here, and whatever happening in my institution should exactly go like this, whatever number 1, number 2, number 3 steps have been written, it is not expected every time that everything should happen accordingly only through these rules. We have to abide with these rules, but along with that, your policy should provide certain freedom to the stakeholder to take some new initiatives or to take some new steps, of course positive steps, to make your outcome a more effective one or efficient one. So such type of flexibility must be provided by your policy, then it is called as a good policy of that particular institution. Then it not be mutually contradictory and no inconsistency between any two policies, which may result in confusion and delay in action. And that is what exactly happen at many institutions at present. One policy says that students should do this, second policy says that students should not do this. Best example of that, I have seen in several of the institutions, there is strictly written, there are very large boards are written, mobile phones are not allowed to use in the institution. Should it be a policy? Definitely it should not be a policy nowadays. So we can see how mobile has changed, or how mobile has encroached the entire higher education in our country in the last 4 or 5 years. So we should be very careful. If whether you are designing such type of policy at your institution, you are not allowed to use mobile phone here. Now, if there's such type of inconsistency or such type of contradiction occurs there, such policies are not to be a good policy. We have to ensure that there should not be any contradictory or no inconsistency between any two policies which are resulting in the confusion and delay of the action. It should not happen at your institution when we are having such type of policies there. Then your policy must be sound. That means it should be a strong policy, logical, that it should not violate any law of this nation. So whatever laws enacted by government of Maharashtra, government of your state government or national government or anyone else, it should not, or that is what logical in the sense, if I'm designing such a policy which is violating some of the human rights of a particular community, then such type of policies are not to be accepted. That should not be there. So in that sense, it's logical. It should be flexible. As I said, mobile use of mobile phone over the campus. So that is what the flexibility issues arises in such case, and provide guide for thinking in future planning and actions. So that type of policies are expected here, sound, logical, flexible, and that policy should provide a guide for thinking in future for planning as well as action. The next point is provide limits within which decisions must be made. If your policy says that you are not able to take a proper decision after reading that policy, such policies are not called to be good policies. So that will be definitely a bad policy. So that policy must provide limits within which decisions must be made or must be taken. Then it reflects the internal and external working environment. So whatever internal and external working environment issues are there in the institution, outside of the institution, that should be reflect some contact or connect between these two types of environments. So that is what it is expected in a good policy as mentioned here. And lastly, in writing and the language of the policies should be intelligible to persons who are supposed to implement them and to those who are to be affected by them. So those who are implementing this policy, for those this particular policy has been made, both of these category, maybe students or maybe staff members or whoever, they must understand meaning of each and every word. Otherwise, there will be always a problem of interpretation. And all along, I'm sure in most of the institution, we are nowadays solving this problem of interpretation always there. Staff X says this thing is such and such. Staff Y says, or the member of this staff, Y member of the staff says, this things should like this way. And this such type of maybe there was some interests are there, financial interest are there, sometimes some ego issues are there. So such things should not occur. So in that sense, whatever language we are using, that language should be very, very precise, accurate, single meaning. So that is to be one of the very, very important aspect your policy should cover. Then and then it will call as a good policy. So it should not be ambiguous. It should not be having double meaning, triple meaning, or interpretation problem is there. If such type of language is used in your policy, then such policy will definitely be called to be a good policy. So these are the certain characteristics of good policy. Apart from that, there may be some other aspects are there, but we are not giving attention to that here. This is what another important part. Now, this is again a technical part. I won't spend much more time over here. What are the major types of the policies? So these are the types. So first type, there are 5 different types. Originated policies, and these are by the administrators. So whoever at the helm of the institution or in charge of the institution, he has certain vision and mission, his own vision and mission. And according to his vision and mission, whenever such type of policies are generated at your institutions, these are called as the originated policies. So these are the basic policies, and they have the support of the institutional authorities. So these policies are by the institution head or the managing committee or monitoring committee of the institution. So such policies are called as originated policies. Second is the appealed policies. Such type of policies comes because of superiors verdict generations appealed policy, and thus become a guide for the future action of the subordinates. So this is what again, so that comes in the administration of your institution. Something has happened over the years, and whatever decisions taken by the head of the institution or managing committee of your institution, that becomes a policy of your institution. So such policies are called as appealed policies. Third and most important, which we are going to deal with extensively, this is external or imposed policy. Being an institution, even though it is an autonomous institution, it has to follow certain rules and regulations set by external agencies like government, regulatory bodies, universities, and so many other monitoring agencies are there, may also be instrumental. And one of the example of that is called as reservation policy. So such type of policy which you are implementing at your institution, such policies are called as external or imposed policies. So actually in any institution, was basically in affiliated college, lot many policies are of this particular type, which is called as imposed policies or external policies. Then there are certain functional policies, fourth type, for various functional areas of management like academic processes, financial processes, infrastructure utilization and maintenance like that, as well as HR policy, that means recruitment, what we call career advancement schemes, etc. All these policies, these are called as the functional policies. So to have a smooth functioning of our institution over the years, such type of policies are not there. And finally, last type of policy here, it's called as level based policies. The policies for top management functionaries, for the head of the institution, or president of that particular society, or president of a particular dean of that particular society. There should be certain policies which are depending upon their level of their authority. So such policies are called as level based policies. These are the 5 different types of policies. Out of that, as I said, type number 3 and type number 4, these are the more number of policies, that's what we have to give more attention in the process of this assessment and accreditation. So don't get bothered about these types of the policies. We are going to get certain examples there. Now, guidelines for making effective policies are as follows. Very simple guidelines. So every policy, whatever you are having, it must be in writing. That's what I said. Don't have oral policy, don't have conventional policy. You should have that policy in writing. Then it is to be sanctioned and signed document by the appropriate authority. Only having policy on paper, and if it is not sanctioned or not signed by your highest authority, then that policy is not called as a good policy. So to make a policy very effective, this must be the procedure one should follow. Clearly understood by those who are supposed to implement those. Again, I'm repeating this point here. So each and every word written in your policy must be understood by each and every component of that particular institution for whom that is supposed to be implemented there. So those who are implementing this policy must understand each and every word in that particular policy. In that way, you have to choose your language. Now, language issue, maybe policies can be written in English, or you can write all these policies in your local language or your vernacular language or state language too. Because after all, that policies are to be used for the students or their parents or the alumni or the staff members in the institution, those who understand their own or local languages. So let's have policies written in your local languages, your state languages, as well as get these policies translated into English for the purpose of assessment and accreditation. So we should have a bilingual policies should be written in 2 different, 3 different, 4 different as per your requirement. That single policy should be written in 3, 4, 5 languages if it is required. Then it should reflect vision, mission, objectives of the institution. We have repeated it several times. Then it should ensure successful implementation. Maximum must participate in its formulation. So while designing policy, as many number of people, okay, if those who are in the process of implementation, if they are involved in the process of formulation, that helps to make your policy maximum effective. So don't go for a single person. This is XYZ is expert in this particular field, so let him write this particular policy. Don't follow that approach, or don't accept that particular approach. As number of people from the same field, if they are writing the policy, they are looking all pros and cons, positives and negatives of your institution, then your policy becomes maximum effective there. Then must strike reasonable balance between stability and flexibility. That is what we said, a dynamism. So your policy must be dynamic. If it is losing, or if it is lacking this particular aspect, then your policy may become redundant. Okay. Again, same example I'm quoting here: use of mobile phone in the campus. Okay, if you are having this policy, and now this type of policy is becoming very, very difficult to operate in your institution, so that must be taken in consideration. Dynamism or dynamic aspect of your policy must be there. That is what we have to think. We have to go for discussion. We have to go for review. We have to go for changing your policies as per the needs of the institution, as per the requirement of the other situation or environment. So you have to go for this type of dynamic aspect of your that particular policy. Then contradiction amongst policies must be avoided right from the beginning. 2 policies should not contradict each other with each other. So that is one of the very basic principles for making these policies effective at your place. Not against interest of the society. This is again very interesting thing. Very, very important thing. What does it mean? Interest of the society. Any individual or any particular community, section of the community, that should not get deprived of benefits of the institution, of your institution. So it should not be against the interest of the society. That is basic. Of course, So no one is going to accept your policy if it is causing some problem to the interest of the society. Definitely, such type policies are not going to be effective or good policies. You have to take care while designing your policies that it will not against the interest of any section of your society. And that is what last point here, periodically reviewed. Okay, so periodic reviewal is also there in order to modify, change, or completely abandon. Sometimes some policies completely become useless. So go for abandoning such policy, design new policy as per the requirement of the time, as per the requirement of the regulations or the norms or what technical situations. Sometimes because of the technology itself, some policies are to be reviewed and some policies are to be abandoned. So all these things have to be taken in consideration while making your policy as effective as possible. Now, we'll come to this again. It's a technical part, as I said. When we start writing policies of any institution, policies and procedure of institution, what are the steps? There are 3 different steps. First one is preparing to write. So policies and procedures can take a long time. Okay? It is not the case in 1 day or 2 days we will be able to write this policy. It may take certain long time depending upon your expertise, your knowledge, the scope of the policy, the content of the policy, situation at your place. Depending upon that, this is a long process. Maybe 10 days, 20 days, 1 month, maybe 1 year or more than that. So that is what we have to go for its correct description. Preparing to write. So before we write such type of policy, let's prepare something before. That is pre-exercise. Treat the activity as a project. Okay. So when we go for any scientific project, how we start, where we start, and where we end, such type of approach should be there. So treat that activity as a project. Writing any policy for any of the activity at your institution. Ensure management support. Another very important part. Without this type of management support, your policy will not be a good policy or will not be an effective policy, because without management support, you can't do anything in your institution. So same is the case here. While preparing or while writing this type of policy, ensure there is a support from the management. Make aware your management about the basics of this policy as well as its expected outcome, its procedures, etc. And then your management will support you, and that will ensure you a good policy there. Make time and resources available. Okay, as I said earlier, it is not a duty of a one person, single person. It is a collective duty. It is a teamwork. So make this time as well as resources available. Plan that particular things. Accordingly, we start writing this type of policy. That is the prerequisite, as I said. Involve legal and regulatory consequences. So whenever we are writing any of the policy, we have to take in consideration legal aspects of that. It should not, as I said earlier, if your policy is violating human rights of someone else, maybe students, maybe parent, or any general member of the society, then such issues are going to be a problem for your institution. So to avoid that, involve legal and regulatory consequences, or have experts in your institution or experts from outside, those who will tackle such type of issues, or those who will guide us while writing these type of policies, whether to involve these aspects, whether to consider these aspects or like that. So these things are to be taken in consideration, and get advice by legal counsel if required. That is what I said. Violating human rights of a particular section of the society or an Indian individual, we have to go for a advice from a legal counsel if required. It is not for each and every policy. It's not necessary that every time there should be a legal counsel at your hand or at your help. But if there are certain such issues you are coming across, then have a advice from such type of legal counsels if required. So this is the first step while preparing to write a policy. This is first step. Now, second step is the next part of this, writing your document, actual process of writing. Now I have started writing. So again, this is a long process, a long time to develop and make it perfect. So policies and procedures can take a long time to develop and become it perfect. So in that sense, step 2, writing your documents. Begin by reading current policies and procedures, even though it is unwritten, or whatever policies and procedures we follow in your institution, even though they are not written, go for study of all such things. So reading current policies, if it is existing on paper, good. If it is not existing, whatever policies you are having in your institution, you are utilizing this over year after year. So go for study of that policies and procedure. Review any compliance or regulatory guidelines. Because of this regulatory guidelines or certain necessary compliances, take review of that particular policy, what changes we are supposed to make there. Consult the people who will use the procedures and perform the work. This is very, very important part. Without their support, without their understanding, without their involvement, we can't make your policy to be a good policy or policy procedure. So they understand the steps in a workflow. So in the entire workflow, what are the steps that have to be taken? These people will understand, and then your policy will become effective and useful for a part in general. Then verify its accuracy. So it should not be a vague policy. So whatever write up you have having with you for that particular policy, it should be very, very, very accurate. If there is certain inaccuracy, again there is, as I said, there will be a problem of interpretation, and that will be a cause of the lot many other problems in your institution. And that in spite of solving problems, you are creating problems, your policy is creating problems, and you are involved in the solution of that problems again. That should not be happen. So it should be very, very accurate what you are writing there. Get the document evaluated by those affected. That is what I said. Those who get affected by these policies. So their feedback, their consensus, their opinions are to be taken in consideration while writing these type of policy, and get approved and signed by the document from the highest level of the management. Then it becomes a policy document. So policy document is never become a document of your institution, authorized document of your institution, unless it is signed and unless it is accepted by the highest level of the management. And once this policy is, so pre-work has been done. In the second step we followed, we are actually now writing this particular policy. We have taken care of all these steps, what I have mentioned here. We have completed this document, and now this document is signed by your highest authority. Then it became policy. And once the third step associated next is this is what implementing policies and procedures. So policies and procedures can take a long time to develop and perfect. So this is the third step. Publish the document in one central location, whatever central location in your institution, or best way, you can publish this document on your college website. So it will be made available to each and everyone, whoever, insider or outsider, your student or parent or alumni or any government authority or anyone. They can go through such type of document, and they can understand what type of different policies your institution deploy at your end. Then create a training plan to support the new policies and procedures. So whatever new policy we generated, we must take training sessions, or we must make our stakeholders aware about that. That means we have designed a gender policy, and if it is not known to your student, that is not a good practice, or that is not expected here. So get such deliberate sessions of discussions, or deliberate session of study or training for your staff members or the students to make this particular thing maximum effective. Third thing, establish a review cycle. Okay? After every 1 year or 6 months or 2 years or assessment period, we should review your policy, because every policy is never becomes a perfect policy. It always requires certain improvement. So thereby we have to establish a review cycle so that new regulations and practices can be incorporated into your document to keep them relevant. So relevancy of the policy is very important aspect, and that's why we have to have a review cycle. Okay, establish review cycle at your own place, that this policy becomes a dynamic policy over the years, and then it becomes a trend that becomes a perfect document years after years, and that helps your institution to become maximum strong institution, or one of the world-class institution based upon this particular step. So just follow these steps. First step is preparation of the writing of the policy. Second step is the actual writing of that particular policy, and third step is the implementing policies and procedures and how to take its overview or review, etc. These are the three different steps one must follow to have an effective policy procedure at your institution. So these are the few things. Next, I should like to go here. Another technical aspect, language and tone. Okay, so it should not look, okay, whenever there is an emperor's order, it's an order. Whatever emperor says, this is, whether this is true or false or good or bad, it doesn't matter. You have to follow that. So that type of tone should not be there. Okay, that type of tone is not expected here. Language, as I said earlier, language can be any. Either it can be in your local language, or it can be in English language or any other language. whatever suitable for you, you can choose that. So use language and tone appropriate to your stakeholders, basically for our students. So it should not be a as I said, emperor's order, should not look like an emperor's order. Use terms and definitions consistently. Same terms and definitions are to be used consistently, thereby your stakeholders become aware of that. Explain acronyms. Okay, sometimes we just write UGC. Many students do not know what UGC is. Many students, this is the fact. So you should, in beginning, you should write somewhere University Grants Commission, and then wherever it appears, second time, third time, fourth time, you can go for its acronym UGC. So explain acronym first while writing this particular thing. Use plain language than jargon. That is what I said. The policies are not for NAC. Policies are for the institution itself. Policies are for the students, for the staff members, for the management. So avoid using very technical and jargon type of language. Use your own very simple statements, simple words, having not having double meaning, triple meaning, etc. So that jargon or that type of technical problem must be taken care of. Use inclusive and gender neutral language. What is gender neutral language? Don't use like he should or she should. Okay. So instead of you should, student should. So whenever write student should, then it becomes, it is applicable to he or she at the same time. So don't use gender the language like that. So use inclusive, all inclusive as well as gender neutral language while writing any of the statements in your policy. Provide general information wherever possible. General information, what does it mean? While writing a particular policy, if I have given a number of person XYZ, and if it is transferred or he left your institution, then that policy becomes a useless document there. So to avoid that, for example, provide a general departmental phone number. Don't provide any individual phone numbers rather than the cell phone numbers of office number or office number of an individual who may change jobs. So because of that, your policy becomes ineffective if you are providing this type of numbers. Whenever, if it is a student redressal policy, and if you are putting a particular person and if he leaves a job at your place, then there may be a problem for your policy. So not to happen that, use general phone numbers which are exclusively used by the institution. So that is to be taken care of here. Then be clear about required actions versus optional actions by choosing the correct words. That is what I said again. Try to avoid problem of interpretations, double meaning, triple meaning, etc. These type of statements may cause a more problems rather than solving problems. That is the meaning of that. Write in short sentences with plain words, as simple as possible. So try to write these policies in your own mother tongue first. Make it as simple as possible, and then go for translation and making the policies in English or other languages. Write in active voice rather than passive voice when it is possible. So use as much as possible in active voice type of statement rather than using this passive voice statements in writing your policies. So this is what related to language and tone. Now, what is the structure? Now, every policy document has certain minimum structure. Whatever I have mentioned here, it is not necessary. Every policy should have these heads. Some of the heads may be missing, some additional heads may come there. So, but what are the minimum heads are there? Component here. It must have some document header. That is what meta information, either policy title, you can have your own numbering system, policy number, revision dates, publication dates, approver signature, and department. Everything of this should be at the heading page of your policy of your institution. Then you must have a very clear purpose mention of this policy. It may be a single statement, it may be a 10 statement, it may be paragraph or like that. So explain what the policy is about and the reason for having this particular policy, how it promotes compliances with the standards or regulations. So that's what purpose must be very, very specific. That should be given. Then again, a policy statement. So describe the overall framework for the policy and its intent. So when we go for some specific examples, you'll come across this point again. So policy statement, purpose is different, policy statement is different. So policy statement, maybe 2, 3, 4 lines policy statement is there. Definitions. So certain policies require some legal definitions. There are several different types of technical terms may be there. In some of the policies, when we call student, now whom you will call a student from outside of the institution, registered student from your institution, alumni student of your institution, all these things are to be taken care of. So such several different types of technical definitions are needed. So define terms in your policy, especially words and phrases with multiple meanings. Okay, that's why we need that's what I said, problem of interpretation. To avoid this problem of interpretation, makes mention of certain very particular definitions of particular words, then it becomes for you to deploy this policy and have its effectiveness there. Definitions make policies clearer and can be important if the organizations ever faces litigation. In case of litigation, these definitions, technical definitions, saves you a lot. So let's have as many as type of different types of definitions there. If possible, add certain table of contents which aids users in quickly finding the information. That is again another attribute of the policy. Scope, it must be very clearly mentioned. Scope of the policy. This describes the individuals, departments, or groups to whom the policy applies. To increase clarity, describe any employees or others to whom it does not apply. So to whom it will be applied, to whom it will not be applied. That should be also mentioned. If you are writing it is applicable to so and so, then it becomes clearly that policy is applied to this group of the students. It is not applied to this group of students. So that type of clear-cut scope must be there. And finally, responsibilities. To ensure compliance, specify which roles are responsible for creating documents and reviving documents and its activities. So responsibilities, every individual, every committee, every group of your staff members or from the students community, such type of roles and responsibilities must be written there. Then your policy becomes a good policy, and that is a in general structure of the policy document. As I said, I am going to show variety of examples which may have, some of the policies are having all these components there, some of the policies may not have all these components there, but it is again an institution specific. So we will see that in the next some examples. Now, in case of policy procedures, assessment and policy procedures in case of assessment and accreditation, very, very important part. So keep these 4 words in mind. Those who are writing their SSR or in AQR, etc. There are several metrics which will contain these words. These are I'm calling to be keywords: process, established systems, mechanism, and strategy. So whenever these 4 keywords appear in your metric, please ensure that your institution needs a policy procedure for that metric. Basically, most of these such metrics are qualitative metrics. So almost for all qualitative metrics, we require such type of policy document. So this is one very simple test to understand. In case of assessment accreditation, wherever a metric contains the word process, we have to have a policy. Established systems, again, you have to have a policy. We are having certain mechanism, you have to describe a mechanism, grievances redressal mechanism, then you must have a policy. And whenever we are having certain strategy, okay, faculty development strategy, then again we must have a certain policy. So strategy, mechanism, established system, and processes. These are the 4 keywords you have to keep in mind. And if I go for this type of keywords, then definitely in criteria 1, this is metric 1.1.1, that is a curriculum delivery policy. In what way you deliver curriculum in your institution throughout the year, semester after semester, that is to be described. That is what I said. We go by convention. Last year I taught this subject this way, so this year also I should start this teach this subject in the same way. It is not needed. You have to mention in your curriculum delivery policy that these are the different ways of teaching methods we are adopting. These are the different evaluations methods we are adopting. This is what the mechanism, mentoring system you are having at your institution, which is helping your students to get maximum input or output from that particular process. So that is called as curriculum delivery policy. Second is feedback. Whether your feedback is online or offline, how many questions are there, what aspects should be covered there, whether it is related to the curriculum, whether it is related to general practices of the institution, whether it is related to outreach, all these things are to be specifically mentioned. In what way feedback will be collected, how many times it will be collected over a year, who is responsible for receiving this feedback, who is responsible for interpreting this feedback. Once we get this feedback, how to make your institution aware about these type of feedbacks and action taken over that, who will take certain action over this feedback. All these things must be mentioned in the second, that is the 1.4, that is the feedback policy of the institution. Like that is the imposed policy, admission policy, reservation policy 2.1.2, mentoring policy 2.3.3. Now curriculum delivery policy and mentoring policy can be clubbed together or they can be separate. CIE, continuous internal evaluation. So this continuous internal evaluation nowadays, because of this CBCS system, we have to have this type of very clear-cut continuous internal evaluations policy there. That is the basic requirement of this metric in this particular assessment and accreditation. Then examination grievances policies, as I said earlier, that is 2.5.2. Whenever it is mentioned in that metric, it is actually mentioned what is the mechanism to resolve the grievances which are related to the examination grievances. So what is the mechanism means we must have a policy for that. So that is what called as examination grievances policies. Another very important related to the staff, that is the research policy. In what way your institution wants your staff members to carry out the research and they can prosper ahead, they can go ahead, they can achieve something good. That is K indicator 3.1. Publication ethic policy, that is very well known to all of us. We are not supposed to breach any rules of the publication ethics. According to that, what steps or what policy your institution has decided. Extension activities policies, apart from NSS, NCS, etc. Other activities cells may be there. So what are the different types of extension activities we are carrying out and what are the policies we are having? That is the another important aspect in this particular case. Then the next slide also shows remaining criteria, criteria number 4 and 5. Very, very important thing nowadays, that is ICT policy 4.3.1. In this metric 4.3.1, you have to just describe your ICT policy. That itself is the answer in 500 words. In 4.3.1, we are expected to describe ICT at your institution. So let's write the excerpt of the ICT policy of your institution. That itself supports your claim. And this, if this policy is existing there, if you are uploading this policy, that doesn't require anything else other than that. Then infrastructure utilization and maintenance policy. I'm going to showcase this policy later on. What is its important and how it can be written. Then another in the criteria 5, scholarship policy. What type of different scholarships we are having or we are having at your institution and how we go for its disbursements and all these things. Right from selection, from the categories, right from the students and all these things. Grievances, students grievances redressal cell. This is one of the very what we call compulsory thing at present. UGC compels every institution to have such type of internal grievances redressal cell at your institution. By law, we have to have such type of cells at your place, and for their functioning or working, we must have certain grievances redressal policy too. Sports and cultural policy. Every institution goes for this sports and cultural activities, so we must have policy for that. Recruitment, then CAS, career advancement schemes, staff welfare, etc. That is 6.2.2 and 6.3.1. These are the metrics where it is mentioned strategy or systems or processes. So we have to have these type of policies. Financial, okay, it's very essential for all. Audits, different types of financial audits, we should have policy. Resource mobilization policy, so generating funds at your institution, that is again a management part here. Then quality policy, basically IQAC is related to this type of quality policy. So IQAC has to have this type of policy which is required in 6.5.1. Then your IQAC becomes functional and active if you are having this type of policy. Whereas in criteria number 7, various audits, energy audit, environmental audit, gender audit, etc. For that, what type of policy you are having? There is a disabled students metric 7.1.7 that covers the facilities provided for the disabled students. What are the policies your institution is having about disabled students? That is to be mentioned here. Then code of ethics, another very important aspect, environmental policy or waste management policy. So in all, when we go for counting these numbers here, total number of policies become 25. Criteria 1 to criteria 7. Total number of metrics which are having these words: processes, established systems, mechanism, and strategy. Every QLM or every metric requires this type of document or this type of policy document or policy procedure document. That helps a lot for any institution to face this process of assessment and accreditation. So as I said, this is what the first part. Second part of my presentation is that I'm just going to showcase some of the very important policy. This is one of the college. Professor Ramakrishna More College from Pune itself. It is our sister concern, Pune District Education Association. This is the college which received a grade 3.46. Still, it is highest grade in Maharashtra. Not highest in India, but still it is highest grade in Maharashtra. And some of the policies of this institution, I was a part of this. So how to write, I have seen actual process, how to write policies, how to make them perfect. and etc. So some of the policy, I'm just showing it here. This is the first policy. Just let me confirm whether you are able to look. Are you able to see this? Subhaya sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are able to
Yeah.
see
Yes,
it.
sir.
Okay, now this is the statement. This is the policy. Pune District Education Association. I'll just go for some highlighting this particular part here. Okay, Pune District Education Association, Ramakrishna More College. I'm going to share its websites later on too. This is the curriculum delivery policy and procedure. So how curriculum will be delivered in an institution throughout the year across all programs. Now see the different aspects. Some photographs have been mentioned there. This is the content. First, it is a policy statement. Now this is the preamble of the policy. Why this policy is needed? Because we want to have certain graduate attributes inculcated in our students. Through this policy, we are sure that we will be able to achieve this particular thing, that we are going to inculcate certain graduate attributes in our students. That institute has this policy. So they have set certain learning objectives, curriculum delivery strategies, how curriculum will be delivered, academic planning, role of teacher, initiatives by the institution. So I'm sure in every institution these things go on. Okay, role of teacher is there, but it is not written anywhere. You have to write it on the paper. I'm just showing you how it has been written there. Then what are the different types of teaching approaches? Whether you have to apply lecture method, participative learning. Now you'll come across those who have already written SSR, they will come across these words. Lecture methods, participative learning, cooperative learning, inquiry-based learning or instructions, experiential learning, and fieldwork technology in the classroom and laboratories. So as I said, ICT should cover this ICT aspects also here. So that is what all these are the teaching approaches that institution has adopted. What are the different support services they have provided? Support to the teachers provided by the institution, as well as support to the students provided by the institution to make or to have this curriculum delivered effectively in that institution. So what are the supports provided? And assessment and evaluation for strategy. So what are the strategies we follow for this assessment as well as evaluation of the students? At the same time, they have made feedback from the stakeholders. So all these things are covered together, and this particular single documents of just 14 pages that helps very nicely to all your claims, whatever we make in this all the PLMs as well as QNM, that we are having this type of policy document. We are implementing every curriculum delivery process in your institution according to this document. We have to just write it there, support this by particular claims and some other documents. Then your claim is 100% accepted. Yes, at your place, curriculum is delivered according to this. This is one of the very simple statement. This is first page. Now this is what introduction has been given. This is the policy statement. Now just learn the first policy statement. What is this? The learner-centric approach in curriculum delivery from teaching, learning, and assessment, TLA. It provides support, guidance, and progression to work and or higher education. Providing TLA support which extends equality, okay, of opportunity to all. These type of very nice statement has been written as the policy statement. There are almost 8, 10, 11 statements are there. They have written. Then these are the graduate attributes. These are given by UGC itself in LOCF, learning outcome curriculum framework. These attributes have been mentioned by the UGC itself. You can change some of them. You can adopt it directly or like that. So first one is academic excellence. To achieve this academic excellence, they're writing this policy. Communication skills among the students, personality and leadership, global citizenship, etc. These are the 4 different types of graduate attributes they have selected, for which that institution is working through this policy. At the same time, they have certain learning objectives, like number 1, demonstrating the ability to prepare and communicate effectively using listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. So my friends, at your institution also, you are doing same thing. You are not doing anything different than this, but you have not written it anywhere as a policy document. This college has just taken one step ahead. They have written everything according to this policy, and on the basis of such 10-12 policy documents this college has prepared, and on the basis of they could go for grade A++. That is what step. This is what, again, second different types. This is a curriculum delivery strategies. What are the different types of delivery strategies they are having here? Academic planning. So first there is a faculty meeting. Everywhere such type of faculty meeting takes place, but that is again by convention. That is not because of the policy. The institution has this policy. Therefore, there is a there happens to be a faculty meetings. Then what happens in the faculty meeting? What is expected there? Everything is written there. Departmental meetings are there. At your place also same thing happens. There is some committee called as timetable committee. Role is assigned to this timetable committee to prepare a timetable according to the overall situation of the institution. All these things have been mentioned there. Then next is the induction program. It is an essential part of the curriculum nowadays according to UGC. So every institution has to go for this induction program for the newly registered student in your institution. So that is also mentioned. According to this policy, have a clear-cut curriculum delivery. They introduce this type of induction program, and this program is conducted according to this policy. Role of teachers. Teachers are, okay, this is what the role of teacher has been mentioned. Now I need not tell you what is your role and how to go for that. Okay, for college advises teachers on improving teaching skills. So for that we go for some programs, some additional programs, some workshops, some this is what FDP we are using this for improving our teaching skills, making lectures interactive and student centric, using technology in instructional transactions, promoting group work among the students, that is what called as group learning or the participative learning, arranging co-curricular activities, improving assessment method. This is what support provided by the institution. Now initiatives by the institution. So initiative taken by the college. The college promotes, I'm reading first one or two statements. The college promotes the faculty to upgrade themselves by sending them to complete the orientation and refresher course. At your institution also same thing happens. That's I said, nothing different than this. Only these people have taken benefit of that. They have written, we provide this facility to our staff members to improve their quality, to improve their skills, such as a refresher courses, orientation courses, or some other types of FDP programs. So this is what initiatives. It is just written. At your institution also this is happening, but you have not taken cognizance of this. Then contribution made by the college. Teaching approaches. Teaching learning approaches are based on the following. Okay, I think we are going late, but doesn't matter. Student learning, teaching, teachers thinking and acting, instructional media and methods, assessment, evaluations, and so on. This is what they have provided certain how to go for this type of improvement in the system, etc. Then lecture method, participative learning. So what are participative learning? What are the different activities they are supposed to go for? For example, Management Week, Soft Skill Development Program, Geography Week, Shardotsav, RDX, Rule D Excellence, Vyapar Mela are the activities arranged every year. The activities arranged in those events are based on their curriculum. Students participate in activities and make their contribution. So whenever we go for participative learning or activity-based learning, these things have been written in their document, policy document. They have this policy, and therefore they organize such type of activities throughout the year to help support this curriculum delivery or maximum effective curriculum delivery at this institution. Then this is second part is another 5.3 is cooperative learning, inquiry based learning. Now in this case studies that will motivate students to inquire and learn, group projects, then research projects, field work, especially for science lessons, and unique exercise for students to search for its answers. So these are the different inquiry based learning approaches this institution has decided. They have written in their document. It is made available for the staff members as well as students as well as teacher. It is available on their website, and students of that institution gets an idea in what way the curriculum will be delivered in the institution in a complete program. That is what this particular document. So it doesn't require any other document for the students to go through to understand what is the process of teaching learning in that particular institution. Then this is experiential learning and fieldwork. Technology in the classroom and laboratories. That is what LCD, MATLAB, different types of softwares, and lot many things. Smart classroom, all these things are there. Support services, support to the teachers. That is one type, first type of procedural support, practical support, support to the student. That is academic support. Then the mentorship, mentor-mentee system. Through also that also helps for a good or effective curriculum delivery. So mentorship they have taken as a part of this. This support has been provided. Then assessment and evaluation strategy. Different types of assessment. Purpose of assessment they have written. Okay, what is this? A variety of assessment strategies are used to facilitate the teaching learning process. Identify areas of students' learning strengths and weaknesses. This is what the purpose of the assessment they have written. So my friends, you are at your institution also, you are doing same thing. Just notify them, write them in line or in order. That makes your policy. Then process in the assessment. Okay, that is what the process in assessment. This is what evaluation, final step evaluation. Similarly, last step here is the feedback from the stakeholders. Clearly written. In what way feedback has to be taken, using either their website or some Google Forms or some paper documents or whatever type. This has been mentioned. Now, what happens to this feedback? Who goes for its interpretation? Who goes for its analysis? Who goes for action taken, etc. And these are the certain different types of documents they have used. We have used. Actually, I was also part of this particular policy procedure. And based upon this, we have taken ideas from this type of papers, and that's how we devised this policy on December 2014. It was revised in June 2017. It is signed by our principal. This is signature of that institution, and then this policy is made available on the website of this institution. Anyone who visits this website, he or she can go through this particular policy. And this is just say, this is only a, I think, 12-page document, only 12-page document. Okay, so on the basis of this 12-page document, that institution could achieve maximum marks. Okay, 3.84 is the score in the criteria number 1. 3.84 out of 4. You can't believe. This is what a single document of 12-page enumerating each and everything related to this curriculum delivery that has been mentioned there, and they proved, according to this document, every teaching learning process in our institution goes. Output is later on. So along with this policy, they showed this is the output, and on the basis of that, they could get 3.84 in the criteria number 1. Same is the policy here. I'm just again mentioning another important policy there. I hope you are seeing this, sir. Ramaya, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is again June 1, 2014. Same college, Ramakrishna More College. This is physical and academic facilities, utilization and maintenance of policy. Now, this is again very, very general policy. General in the sense, every institution utilizes its infrastructure, but in what way it will utilize, it is not written anywhere. You have to just write this classroom or this particular smart classroom or this auditorium will be used for this. This is the procedure to get this charge of this room or this particular auditorium. If auditorium is not used properly, what will be the actions taken by the management over that user? If auditorium requires some additional infrastructure there, what will be the procedure followed? Or if that auditorium requires certain maintenance, what will be the steps followed? That is to be written in a document. This is again a 11-page document, which is called as a physical and academic facilities. Metric number 4.4.1 in criteria number 4, learning infrastructure and learning resources. We require this policy, and based upon that, we have to just write your answer in 1,000 words. Supporting your answer with this policy, it helps a lot to get 10 out of 10 marks in that particular metric. And based upon that also, same is the case of this institution, they could get maximum weightage or maximum credit for this metric exactly based upon this particular policy, which is called as physical and academic policy. Actually, we are running out of the time. I have to show a lot many, but you'll see this. Now, this is the purpose of this policy. Okay, this is what our structure. First thing is the facility use as policy or infrastructure use policy. Purpose or the reason of the policy we have written. First thing is establish standard procedures for the use of physical and academic facilities. It's not difficult. We can understand. Everything is here. Provide properly schedule all types of activities without any hindrance. Provide a consistent, effective, and efficient approaches towards scheduling and uses of the facilities. Such type of very simple statements has been written as this policy statement of this particular college. Then second part, scope of this policy. They have gone from academic and administrative offices, classrooms, resource rooms, gymnasium, library, meeting room, academic, research laboratories, college garden, commons, everything. So whatever in college which comes under the name infrastructure, that is the scope of this particular policy. As I said, definition. Okay, see here. Event is to be defined here. So that is a technical requirement, legal requirement. Event refers to a planned meeting, student and faculty functions, extension activities, co-curricular activities, and ... So this is what. So whenever any other event occurs in an institution other than this, this may not come under this. So whenever there is certain litigation, we can fight on the basis of this litigation that event mentioned in our policies, this event occurred, there is not of this type, therefore we are not responsible for this event. So on the basis of this policy, we can defend in the law of court, and this is what court of law, and this is what the definition, technical definitions we required there. This is what I am just showing one simple example from that. Classroom assignments and utilization. Now, usually what happens in your institution, we allot the classrooms just looking the programs of the last year. So we just see the timetable in the last year. Classroom number 12 was allotted to MSc Physics. So this year also we should allot this classroom to the MSc Physics. That is our convention. This should not be the convention. Now, this authority to assign the classroom is to be assigned to someone else. A particular person is there, timetable in charge of that particular college, timetable committee in charge of that college assigns every classroom to every program according to the situation in that institution. So they have arts and commerce undergraduate classes are scheduled from 7:45 to 12:48 from Monday to Saturday every week. Maybe same case at your place. You have not written that there in your policy. Science and undergraduate classes are from this. So that things have been mentioned there. I'm just going to show only simple example here. This is laboratory utilization. Then this is administrative office space, how it is being used. I'm just going to give a very simple example here. Okay. Now, suppose let's come to this. There is a conference room existing in an institution. Now, how conference room will be allotted to the activities by registrar? Who is the authority of this? Registrar of the college. It is allocated for the following purposes. First, priority will be given to this. What is this? Okay, let me highlight this. Meetings of the college development committee, CDC, this will be given first priority. Meetings of IQAC, second priority. Faculty and staff meetings by the principal, third. YYs of PhD or MPhil students. Small training workshops for faculty and staff, meeting of the differences of different college committee. Then others, you can write 7th number there, other events or other things. So conference hall is equipped with LCD TV, projector, computer and internet facility. When the conference room is required for the different activities at the same time, then priority will be given to the activity according to the above list. So this is the list that will govern to whom a conference room is allowed to be utilized. So who is going to utilize this conference room? That will be decided by this order, which is written in their document, which is called as infrastructure utilization policy. This is what, and the procedure itself is given there. Same is the case for seminar hall, space allotment for the other case, that is external users. If my infrastructure is to be given for some examiners, like in this college, CA exams usually conducts every year. So that is also mentioned here. Thereby that institute generates a lot of fund from the government agencies. So providing their classrooms on Sundays basically for such type of public examination, that is also mentioned there in their policy. According to that policy, they are providing this infrastructure available to those agencies, and thereby they can get a particular fund. Library space utilization assignment, sports facilities. Then there are several different types of equipments available in the laboratory. How these equipments are made available for outsider users too. Inside as well as outside users, these equipments are made available. Then the second thing is part of this policy is, this is again a maintenance policy. So what are the maintenance procedures? Again here, go for this particular process. The purpose, okay, it's not coming highlighting that. The purpose of this policy is for maintenance and upgrading college buildings, ground, laboratory equipment, furniture, library, and sports facilities. So everything which comes under the name of this infrastructure, that is covered by this particular maintenance policy. Now, these are the different aspects. Policy: perform maintenance of college owned and controlled assets on a periodic basis to keep assets functional. This is the policy. This is what, there are two more statements are there. What about routine maintenance? What about building and physical infrastructure? Then IT infrastructure and electrical maintenance, replacement, etc. So these are the things that has been mentioned there. And this is what I said, only a document of 10 pages. Based upon that, they could get 10 out of 10 marks in this criteria metric number 4.4.1. And that's how this policy helped a lot that institution. It was, as I said, our system concern. And this is how this particular document helped that institution a large to get maximum score there. Okay, so again I will come to this next step here. I just mentioned, keeping the time fact in mind, this is one more very nice college. I think some of you have heard. This is one Bharati Vidyapit University. There is one very nice policy of this. Actually, I wanted to show. Sir, what about time schedule?
Go ahead, Kangude sir.
No issues.
You have 18 minutes. 1-8.
No, 18, but for discussions, I won't get. I think we will get much more time.
Only we have few questions, sir. 3 or 4 questions. Lot of appreciation.
Thank you. There is one more policy called as ICT policy. Now, every institution has certain ICT infrastructure. What ICT, right from that to how to utilize it maximum of your institution. So that is described here. Even if your ICT infrastructure is misused by someone else, so what are the procedures to punish him? That is also has been written there. So my suggestion for all of you, just visit the Bharati Vidyapit University, Pune-based university, private university, deemed to be university. That university has written a very clear-cut 28 pages document regarding utilization, maintenance, upgradation of their ICT infrastructure. You can follow that at your place. What are the things, how things are going on, what are the different practices we apply. You can write over there, and that becomes your ICT policy. Then there is one more policy of my own college, which I have written just now before 1 year. That is the gender policy of my institution. Let me show you what is this particular gender policy. This is the gender policy of, okay, this is what our tagline, empowering women with simple measures. This is what the thing here. This is my college, Pune District Education Association's Anantara Power College, Pirangut, Pune. It's a suburban of the Pune. This is what index. It's a preamble. Now, this is the structure of this policy is little bit different than what I described earlier. So what I showed, the components of the policy, maybe some of the parts of this policy doesn't come under that structure. Doesn't matter. It is acceptable. First, it is a preamble. That is because of some guiding principles. Then objectives of the policy. This is part 1 we have made. Part 2 is certain definitions, technical definitions, jurisdiction or its scope that I have mentioned. Implementing guidelines. This is what the procedures I have written. Teacher-student relationship. I just going to click this point very interestingly at the end of this particular discussion. Monitoring and review of this policy. Amendments to the policy, how it will be covered. Part 3, financial assistance, for providing financial assistance for any of the activities, gender sensitization activities, what will the procedure will follow. Additional measures if they are required. Accountability and transparency. So in the part 1, if we go here, this is what the guiding principle. Now, gender equality, okay, and this is first statement. Gender equality is an international commitment and recognize a prime sustainable development goal of any nation and society. Constitution of India talks much more about things. So here we have designed this policy to just follow these principles, which are given by our constitution and all other international laws, etc., to make women education as easy, as effective as possible. That's why we have generated this policy, or we have designed this policy. These are the several different types of Indian legislations. That is what the document which is called as SAKSHAM, sexual harassment of women at workplace. We have to keep this document ready at your place. Then the criminal law, protection of women from domestic violence, indecent representation of women, Prohibition Act, Immoral Traffic Act, Indian Penal Code, the Indian Evidence Act, then the UGC SAKSHAM document. This is what a document made compulsory by university to make it available on your website as well as in your library for access to the students, gen students as well as girl students, to know their rights, to know their problems, to know their etc. So this SAKSHAM document. Then the objective of the policy has been mentioned, to fulfill the national commitment to gender equality. This is what objective of our policy, to prevent and redress violations of national acts and prohibit gender injustice. Whatever gender injustice happens, we have to prevent this through this policy document. So these are the certain statements we have written. This is part 2, as I mentioned. This is the gender. Now this is the technical definition, either the male or female or transgender. Okay? All these 3 categories comes under the gender. Division of species, especially as differentiated by social and cultural roles and behavior. That is what we call as a gender, only not male or female. This is the technical definition required. What is employee, student, resources, facilities, equality, equity? both of these two technical words. Sometimes we have ambiguity about this. Then this is what a jurisdiction, right from recruitment, admission, enrollment to assessment and evaluation, everything related to any of the activity in the institution. We are not supposed to do any discrimination on the basis of gender of the student or the faculty or the staff member. That is what very clearly mentioned, and these are the certain things that have been mentioned there. This is teacher-student relationship. I just want to put one point here. This is what implementing guidelines. I just said here to teacher-student relationship. Unfortunately, sometimes in some of the institutions, some very bad events or bad things happen between student and teachers. Okay, I don't want to go into details of that, but in such type of unethical problems arise in your institution, what the steps you do follow to get rid of these things or to avoid such things, or to punish a particular culprit there, or get the justice to the particular vulnerable person there, he or she, whoever. What is the procedure we follow? In ethical relationship between teacher and student will not be tolerated, because such issues adversely affect academic and professional ethics of our institution. Victimization of student by teachers on gender basis is completely prohibited. In other case, if some bad event occurs, not what real bad relationship happens in between student and teacher, what is the procedure we do follow? That has been correctly has been written here. What different processes we follow? So we cover, this policy covers this type of teacher-student relationship and problems arising there. So that is what the perfect use or perfect purpose of this policy that has been mentioned. Other things are there. You can go for our website, or I can share it later on if it is required. These are the references we have used. This policy was formulated in September 2019, and this is revised in June 2010. But still, we have not placed this policy on our website, but it is made available to our students by other means. And this is how we follow this process of the policy, which is called as the gender policy of our institution. So I hope this is a large time we are going out of this particular case. This is one more very nice institution, Nirmala College, Muvattupuza. Very recently, it received this grade 3.73 in the cycle 4. Go for studying of their research policy, their environmental policy. Lot many institutions and lot many colleges. Still, percent is less than 1% of the total institutions in India. 42,000 colleges in India. Hardly 400 colleges have such type of policy documents at their place at present. So you can select them. You can go for search of such type of colleges and their documents. You will get hundreds of such policies. Write your own policy in your own words, suitable to your institution, implement it, and you will get a clear-cut idea for that. In this concern, the cluster has taken one very nice initiative. This is one book published by cluster. This is institutionalizing educational policies and academic audits for higher education institution. 2 books are there. It is compiled here. So different types of educational policies. Editor is our president, Professor Prof.Bharat sir, and Dr. Badruddin Madam. She is co-editor of this particular book. This book has been contributed by many numbers of people, which are seeing here on the right hand side. Contributors of the book and first batch of development of institutional quality. This batch was exclusively associated with the writing policies for an institution. This type of certificate course we conducted before 1.5 years, and there is an overwhelming response. And through this particular course, we come across different types of policy documents, or what are the different types of policy needed for assessment and accreditation, not for assessment and accreditation, but to improve the institution, to make their own brand. We require such type of policy document. So people started writing their policy document for their institutions. These are some of the examples. How to get this book? For that, you can go for this number. I'm just rewriting this number again here. This is 8884, then 66, and finally 8383. You can contact for this number. This is Janavi Prints from Bangalore. You can get this book for 600 rupees. Very nice book. Based upon this book, you can prepare or you can write your own policies and procedure for your institution. And I'm sure if this book is purchased, if this book is utilized, if it is followed line to line, and if you are able to write such type of policies and procedures for your institution, almost for all processes. So almost 25 processes we have discussed in related to assessment accreditation. You can write such type of policy document for your institution, and I'm sure On the basis of this type of document, any institution, small institution or moderate institution can touch A grade very definitely if it is executed this particular type of policies, if it is designed such type of policies, implemented such policies, and then you can become your own brand, national brand, international brand on the basis of this particular type of policies and documents. This is my mobile number, 9890106937. This is my email address. You can write, or all these details are available on our website too. Our website is, that is what I have written, iqacclusterindia.com, or just give a search on the Google IQAC cluster. You'll get first page will appear, that will be IQAC Cluster India. On that, all our details are available there, our mail address, our phone numbers, our cluster website, and all other cluster activity, etc. available. I request all of you, please be a part of this cluster. For what? Not for any monetary benefits, but to improve yourself, to improve or enhance the quality of higher education in our country. So I very many times I say, this is not an organization, this is a movement. IQAC Cluster India is a movement which is striving to improve the quality of higher education in our country. I know that our efforts are very little as compared to the large volume of the higher education sector in our nation, but doesn't matter. It is just like a candle. Now, today it is a candle. Maybe it will become floodlights in few more years. If people like you, okay, from all parts of the country join us, they become part of this particular movement, then it will be a very big movement for our nation. So with these words and with these particular things, I say thank you all for very patient listening right from almost 2 hours. Thank you once again. Okay.
Take a sip of water, Kangude sir.
Yes, I'll get. Definitely. Over to you, ma'am.
Any quick question, Vimala madam or Lily Golda madam? Lily Golda madam has to be unmuted. Vimala madam also has to be unmuted. Admin, kindly unmute Vimala madam and Lily Golda madam. Yeah.
They are muted again. Yeah, now she's unmuted.
Lily madam, Vimala madam.
Thank you so much for that power-packed session, sir. Actually, I have already attended a couple of programs by you, but every time, we learn new things. And this time also, it was a enriching experience with totally new concepts. Of course, you have shared with us
yes.
The name of the college, I don't get it. Ramakrishna College policy documents you have already shared with us. But the way you presented it, the way you presented it, bringing in new things, adding to the details you've already provided us, that makes you a unique presenter. And you have also filled the energy with which you have delivered the entire, you handled the entire session is really marvelous, sir. Thank you very much, and happy to be associated with you all, sir. And Sankar sir also was giving in a lot of pouring in comments into the chat box, both in praise of you as well as he was answering all the questions. So thank you very much, Shankar sir, for being with us today.
Sir, there are 3 questions, but all the questions are already answered. But in case you want to answer those questions, you can also answer. One of the questions by Dr. Jayapalakrishnan. Sir, you have mentioned that we should review the policy periodically once we have written our policies of library, scholarship, examination, research. When to change it, suggest your idea.
Depending upon the circumstances. If certain government regulation changes, and if it is what your policy, if it is written, it is against that regulation, then you have to go for modification of your policy. Sometimes, as I said, because of technology, now teaching learning has shifted from classroom to online teaching as well. Now we have to incorporate this component in our curriculum delivery policy. Accordingly, if I'm sticking with my old policy of curriculum delivery, which is followed last from 6-7 years, And if it is not mentioning anything regarding this online teaching, then your policy will be a problematic these days. So you have to modify your policy considering the environmental changes or outside changes. Thereby, as usually, you should go for review of policy at least once a year. At least once a year. If it is reviewed 2 years, after 3 years, depending upon the situation, circumstances, that's okay. But just go for at least changing few words, few lines in your policy over year after year. Because after learning certain new things, after going for some new experiences, maybe some additional inputs are there that can be added in your policy, and then that makes your policy more and more perfect. So there is no such timetable there. It depends upon and it actually depends upon the activity of your IQAC. How much your IQAC is active about this type of concern. So what type of changes IQAC absorbs, understands, interprets, and then it implements in their own institution. Based upon that, your policies can be changed as per your requirement as well as the need too. That's what.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Another question from Renaga. She says that, as you have mentioned, various legislations on gender equality.
Yes.
Kindly explain how to execute the functions of these legislations within the institution.
First, read all these legislations. Try to interpret these legislations and what are the processes related in your institution. If these processes are not according to this legislation or which are not following this type of legislation, then itself suggests that you have to change your process, you have to change your policy, you have to change your attitude, you have to change your approach, or you have to change your thinking. And in that way, you have to incorporate all these type of legislations together. Not many legislations are there. There are, but very some. So basically, we are being monitored and controlled by UGC. So Saksham document of UGC is one of the best guidelines to write gender policy of any of the institution. Forget about this constitution and other rules and regulations and laws. Okay, they are there. We have to respect all those. But if you don't want to go into detailed study of that, just go for study of the Saksham document from UGC and write your own policy based upon that. That will be acceptable. Only see that having policy on paper is different thing, and implementing policy actually or practicing this policy in your working of your institution, that is added advantage. If it is not happening, then there is no use of the policy. Yes, sir. Next.
I can also add to what Kangude sir said.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah, it's the responsibility of the IQAC of the college to have a meeting of the members and the heads of the departments or the staff in general at the beginning of the academic year and at the end of the academic year. See, in the beginning of the academic year, they'll have to review whatever is already done and what they are thinking of doing during that academic year. In that meeting, they can also review the existing policies and procedures, which perhaps Kangude sir has been outlining, and the gender issues or the legislations that have been passed on by the state governments or the universities or the central government, and ask the members present, to suggest ways and means on the need for implementing them in the college. So you can write a resolution, in the meeting, as Pahade sir has provided you the way in which the IQAC has to document the procedures that are going to be adopted. You have to document the new legislation on need basis and then record it in the IQAC meeting, take it to the notice of the principal and the management also, and to incorporate it into the functioning of this. Change is the only permanent thing in life, and every change,
I want to, this becomes quality. You have to adopt every year you can write at least 2 such good policies. And then it becomes one of the quality initiative of our institution. Writing 2 policies is not that difficult. Only 4, 5, 10 days, 1 month at the most. Okay, 3, 4 people are there who are working, who are knowing all these things. They can write 2, 3 such policies, and that becomes a quality initiative of that IQAC for that year at least. In overall 4, 5 years, it becomes 25 or more than that. So this is good number of quality initiatives by IQAC.
And then the union leader in Dr. Sankar wishes to speak. One more thing. See, it is the responsibility of the IQAC coordinator and assistant coordinator, whoever they are, to see to it that all these are compiled or brought together, presented. and a little concession in workload perhaps by the principal or the administration or the management would help them to function free without any stress and strain. Perhaps Golda madam and Ramasubaya sir will also support me on that because they are also from my department. Over to you, Kangude sir.
Yes, no sir. Please go ahead for next questions.
Just two questions, sir.
Yes.
Probably it is already answered, but in aided college, is principal the authorized signatory or employee, or will it vary based on documents?
In affiliated college, principal is authority. Surely, principal is authority.
Already, sir also said same.
And if the same document is signed by higher authorities too, that makes no problem.
Yes.
That makes no problem. But the principal is academic and administrative head. Through that responsibility, he is in charge of all such activities. He is the leader. He is the boss of the institution. No issue, no problem. Yeah.
Excellent. And the last question is already is the first question and the last question also. Would the policy resolve existing challenges? Would the policy resolve existing challenges?
Yes, sir.
We answered it. You see, you have to devise such a policy which will not see to it that new problems occur. Sometimes you'll have to take a stand to clear the problems that we are facing. That can be done. That can be done. Why Ram Subaya sir is muted again?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, shall we wind up, sir?
Yes,
Right.
sure.
With the formal vote of thanks.
Okay.
Sir, probably you would have not seen the compliments which were pouring in at the time of presentation. Which I have brought out some. I have taken out some of the compliments which I wanted to share it with you so that you would be extremely happy now. Such a way, now it was meticulously presented, and with your soul and heart, such a way it was meticulously prepared and soul and heart it was presented.
The academic dictionary, somebody called it.
Yeah, I have noted, sir. That is our additional controller, Dr. Aliason. Yeah, he's our additional controller, Dr. Aliason. He made a comment like this. It was an excellent session, sir. Actually, he is an academic dictionary.
Yeah.
I also meticulously made some comments like this. Said a great learning session. It was an excellent presentation, very nice presentation, information and insightful, wonderful and knowledge presentation, very important for holistic development. It goes on. Then there is a participant has written like this: more truly value addition session, crystal clear session. Somebody has written. And Sankar sir made few comments like this while he was listening to your presentation. New areas touched upon.
Yes.
And then he also regretted that around 100 plus participants would have probably they would have missed the session today. Since it is a Saturday, only 500 plus participants have turned up. And many concepts, one of the participants has made a comment like this: many new concepts that we have learned. Then Sankar sir again made a comment like this: we are given a blueprint of the policies and procedures. And then one of the participants made a comment like this: good arrangements of ideas and well attractive. I think it is Sankar sir. Good arrangements of ideas, well articulated. And then one lengthy comment by a participant, and she has written like this. I think this is Sasmita. Thanks to
Sasmita Panigrahi from Orissa.
Yeah. She has written like this, sir. Probably you would have failed to notice it at the time of presentation. I would like to bring it to your knowledge. Thanks to the organizers and IQAC Cluster for making aware of such information. What NAC wants from college will soon be fulfilled by all the colleges because of IQAC Cluster and FTP programs of like this. It's a beautiful comment, sir. As you rightly said, it is a movement. It is a movement. It is not an organization. it is a movement for the to make it a better nation.
Yes.
So with these few words,
Sir, 1 second. I
Yes,
wish to
please.
add one more comment which we received recently.
yes, please.
Ma'am, Deepa has quoted like this: "We came across a gold mine. We are fortunate." Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
are also able to share some of the
Mhm.
gold.
That's good. Very
Yes,
nice.
sir. Excellent, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, sir.
There is a question. You see, what about the timings of tomorrow? That somebody, Mr. B.S. Patil, is asking.
That will post it in the WhatsApp group today, sir.
Okay.
We'll have a discussion at some time. Then we'll post it before 10 o'clock. And
Okay.
definitely, the validated session will be between 3:30 and 4. Followed by that, we'll have a session as usual.
Because you see, Deepak Nanavare, sir, reader in English, professor in English, requires a little more time. You see, not because
Yes.
I am an Englishman, but because Deepak needs a lot of time.
Yes,
He is
sir.
used to speaking non-stop for 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yes, more than 7 hours. It goes up to 7 hours.
In
I have seen
offline, in offline meeting.
In offline sessions,
Offline.
yeah.
In my
We'll do
college,
it,
he went for 7 hours for COPO designing and mapping.
Excellent, sir. Excellent.
Morning and evening, 2 sessions. Very nice.
Sir, all
Very
that
energetic.
all that we discuss it, sir, offline, and then that we'll post it to the participants in the WhatsApp group, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Good evening,
Yes.
sir. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
so much. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Okay.
Thank you so much. Take rest, sir. Ma'am, Golden ma'am, we'll discuss. All
Yes,
these
sir,
things, all these things we'll discuss in the WhatsApp group. Then we'll post it, post them to the participants before 10.
Sir, can the organizers stay back, sir, for some time?
No, no,
And shall we continue? Or
Not now. We'll discuss it in the WhatsApp group. No problem. In our organizing group. Because you have another 197 participants here. Now that we'll see. Others are also present. Otherwise, we'll go out and come back. What do you say?
is it possible to end the
right.
session and
No,
come
no,
back
no,
to the same link?
You cannot right away. You cannot end the session, man, because still people are submitting their feedback.
Yes.